tema central que nos interesa a todos, padres de familia y por supuesto escuelas, que es el tema de la socialización digital como un nuevo paradigma, una nueva forma en que los jóvenes hacen las cosas. Hoy vamos a ver cómo esto no es una moda ni es algo que esté aquí por un tiempo, es ya la nueva manera en que las cosas están sucediendo y va a permanecer por muchos años. Tengo el gusto de estar acompañado hoy por panelistas de lujo, como todo el evento que hemos tenido hoy. Tengo el gusto de presentarles a Ann Collier. Ann, si te puedes presentar, por favor. Your turn.
Hello, I'm Ann Collier. Is my mic on?
That's it.
Can you hear me? Is that good? It needs to be very close. Well, I co-direct an NGO in the United States called connectsafely.org, and I'm also a journalist by training, and I've been following online safety, kids and technology for about 12 years now. I'm fascinated by the subject and have a lot to learn from people like Dr. Nagy, Dr. Morales, and my fellow panelists. And I just want to stop and say thank you so much for the amazing hospitality here in Mexico and for the kindness of the Novoa family. I think it's important to just start understanding that this is literally as big as life. These questions that we're talking about, the internet, really the web is increasingly a mirror of all of human life. So it's not just crime, it's not just adolescent and child development and behavior, it's really all of this, it's all of life. And it would probably be helpful to just sort of step back a minute and think about where we are in history and kind of look at the big picture. We are in the middle of one of the most profound media shift since the 14th century, since the printing press. We have had smaller media shifts along the way. We've had a shift where, we had telephone and telegraph, where we had real-time communication between two people, and we had recorded media, and, then most of us grew up in an era called the mass media era, and that was a big shift too, but not nearly what we're experiencing now. And we need to be really patient with ourselves. We are really working all this out together, and this working out needs many, many skill sets. As our friends on the law enforcement panel pointed out, this is not just about legislation and regulation. It's not just about the legal or the criminal route, it's also civil, but it's also in our homes and schools. So the media shift, let's just look at this. What we're experiencing right now is it's multimedia, right? It's tradition. There are sort of three revolutions in one. One is the fact that we have a pipeline or platform called the internet in which we have all traditional media and user-driven media at the same time. And these media are moving in every single direction. Mass media was one to many. That's what we're used to. Producer produced in places like Mexico City, New York, Los Angeles. Professionally produced and regulated. That's what we're used to. But now we have a user-driven medium that is really scary and unnerving to a lot of adults. And a lot of those users, the early adopters of that medium, are children. They're the ones driving the content of the user-driven medium. And then the third revolution is it's social. These children are not just media producers now, but they're also social producers. They're both producing and socializing at the same time. They're highly collaborative. And they function in a very relaxed and casual way in this medium. It's like a new toy to them. Something that concerns us is a new toy to them. So that concerns us even more. In our country, we had a predator panic in 2006. I was telling Armando about this yesterday, that, we had this situation where MySpace came out of nowhere as far as parents were concerned. Children knew about it. And then it was growing exponentially. It was 100,000 new profiles seemingly every week. till there were well over 100 million within a year. And then we had media reporters, news reporters who didn't understand this medium at all, and they were really kind of demonizing it. Technology was the problem, right? It was a new scary thing to them too, and they were reporting from ignorance. And then we had a midterm election where politicians were, you know, a completely uncontroversial political platform is protecting our children, right? And then we had a nationwide program called To Catch a Predator, which really had nothing to do with social networking at all, but there were these associations made. And so this big scary thing was happening, and there were lawsuits, and there was a lot of negative hype in the news, and this was not healthy. Why is this not healthy? It's because if we're scared when we're around our children, we tend to overreact, and they want to get as far away from us as possible. What we need to do, we don't want children on their own in this space, right? What we need to do is communicate with our children. We can't afford to be like a deer in the headlights of a car, paralyzed. We really need to, the number one online safety tip that we always share with parents in the United States is talk with your children. The use of the internet is highly individual. As we talked about before, it's a communications medium, it's a publishing medium, it's an entertainment medium, it's a social medium, it's all of these things together. So it's highly individual. And what you see in the news, what you hear from all these different skill sets is not what your child is experiencing. Only your child can tell you that. The other thing, and I'm going to be talking on the next panel more specifically about online safety research, risk prevention research, but the other thing that's so important, I think, is that there is risk and there is risk. We have to get a little more granular now and understand that when we're talking, what we're saying when we're talking about at-risk youth, are we talking about youth who are at risk of sexual exploitation? Those children are at risk offline. The children most at risk online are those who have already been deemed or understood to be at risk offline. They are a minority of the youth in all cultures, and they need special care. They need specialized care, and very often they don't have engaged parents. So there's that form of risk, and then there's the risk that affects the most kids, bullying and harassment. Regular kids experience that. In our country, we've had 2 separate national studies showing that 1/3 of all teenagers are middle schoolers and high schoolers experience some form of bullying or harassment. So that's the area that has really nothing to do with crime. It's really about adolescent behavior, and it can lead to crime, it can lead to cases that need to be reported to law enforcement, but this is where we need to do most of our preventive work, I think. So just to kind of wrap up this bit, we need to have an understanding of what the risk is, and we need to understand where technology does come in, what I call the net effect, and I'll talk about that on the next panel.
Muy bien, Ana, muchas gracias. De hecho, hay un tema interesante porque finalmente lo que buscamos acá es darle recomendaciones puntuales al sistema educativo y a los padres de familia, cosas que realmente una especie de la lista del 1, 2, 3, cuando menos que pueden hacer y llevar a cabo inmediatamente alrededor de la seguridad de sus hijos. Un tema importante son las escuelas, y por eso antes de continuar con el panel nos gustaría hacerles una pregunta a todos, sobre todo los que están representando escuelas acá, un digivote, preguntándoles si en la escuela, en su escuela o en la escuela donde están sus hijos, hoy en día se está enseñando seguridad en línea, en cualquiera de los niveles. Vamos a ver. Bien, como podemos ver, el 40% no lo saben, y si no sabe un padre de familia hoy o un profesor no sabe que están enseñando seguridad en línea, normalmente es porque no la están enseñando, si no, algo sabría. Tenemos el caso del 33%, de que solamente en algunos grados, ¿no? Me imagino que sobre todo en el tema, en las escuelas mexicanas lo que estamos viendo es que en el nivel de secundaria, que es donde el problema está más fuerte con las redes sociales, con la falta de cuidado de la privacidad al publicar información en perfiles, es donde más serio está el problema, entonces seguramente a eso nos estamos refiriendo, pero es alto el porcentaje, como pueden ver, donde no estamos haciendo absolutamente nada. Yo creo que una cosa importante hoy para la comprensión de todos aquí es alrededor del tema de la socialización, que una cosa es socialización y otra cosa es las redes sociales como tal. Tendemos a confundir esos términos muy fácilmente. En palabras y me gusta la definición que da Dana Boyd en sus conclusiones, donde dice que finalmente una red social es nada más un servicio en Internet que sirve para construir un perfil público o semipúblico, crear una lista o articular una lista de personas con las que tenemos hoy en día una relación y después permitir que esa red cruce la información entre quien conocemos nosotros y a quien conocen nuestros conocidos. Hasta ahí termina lo que es la definición de una red social. Socialización entonces va más allá entonces. ¿Qué podríamos incluir bajo ese concepto de socialización digital? ¿Qué abarca?